Comrade General, I have very bad news. Premier Romanov's plane was shot down while returning to Moscow. The aircraft went down over Morocco. We believe that the Premier is alive and hiding somewhere in the city. Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Incoming transmission. Yuri's forces have captured the only airport in the area. Even now, they search for our leader. You must find the Premier before the enemy does. We believe that Premier Romanov is hiding in the eastern part of the city. You must transport him safely across the river to the airport. Yuri's forces have garrisoned buildings to the north. Our new demolition trucks should be able to clear those structures. Incoming transmission.
This is a message for my old comrade Romanov. Turn yourself in, Comrade Premier, and I promise you asylum with my forces. Remain in hiding, and you will surely die. The Comrade General is a traitor to the Soviet people. Their destiny, and the destiny of the entire world, lies with me.
Battle control online.
Comrade,
Building.
Welcome back, Commander.
waiting orders. Comrade,
We have a fairly interesting mission on our hands.
waiting orders.
First, we have to find the VIP, escort them back to our base, or at least to safety, and then take them to a designated area.
Building.
Waiting
New
orders.
construction
Order
options.
received.
We also have to contend with the new Yuri building, or unit, I should say, the Brute,
Unit.
anti-vehicle style infantry unit.
Construction
Waiting
complete.
orders. Comrade, comrade. Da, vehicle report.
While they don't necessarily pose a huge threat against your own infantry, they still pack quite a punch, so make sure to have some around, at the very least.
Waiting orders. Changing position. Ready. Location confirmed. Waiting orders.
Now, I know there's a grace period behind how long Romanov can hide before Yuri ever finds him. I'm not exactly sure on the time frame for it.
Order received.
You can only hide.
Also, that Brute always glitches out, and I don't know why. Actually, most Brutes in this game glitch out.
Waiting order.
Typically, those Brutes should be chasing after the tanks and trying to hit them. I'm really not sure as to why they aren't.
Da. Vehicle encountering enemy. Vehicle location confirmed. Waiting order.
We believe that Premier
Waiting
Romanov
orders.
is hiding out in the eastern part of the
Vehicle
city.
position.
We must locate him
Ready.
before he
Location
does.
confirmed.
Insufficient
Vehicle
funds.
position. Waiting order. Confirmed. Waiting position.
Yeah, the AI is particularly annoying with Yuri's if that's not been established yet.
We have located Premier Romanov.
Vehicle reporting.
Incoming
Location
transmission.
confirmed.
Of all the bars in all the world, look who is walking into this one. Welcome, Comrade General. We are having the beginning of a beautiful friendship, I think. These are plans for iron
Conscript reporting.
tools on our engineers to make ultimate weapon of destruction.
So yeah, don't play your cards right, and Yuri decides to send a bunch of units after you, and he's got a ton of Yuri clones going around that can take control of Romanov and send him to the mission loss location, I guess we'll call it. I should also mention that this is the first time we'll see the battle bunker actually in use. It essentially serves as a building that you can garrison. It's a very cheap way to allow your own conscripts to just defend relatively decent-sized areas. Their range isn't especially large, but when you have quite a few of them, yeah, they can do quite a bit of damage.
Comrades, for the Union.
The only negative really ends up being the same for any sort of unit garrisoned in a building. While they gain experience, they don't necessarily apply that until you get them out so that they can rank up. Which is why it's typically a good idea to just empty out buildings every once in a while, promote everybody that has been anyways, and then shuffle them back into the building.
Comrades, conflict reporting. For the Union.
Structure
Conflict
abandoned.
reporting. Order received.
Unit promoted.
Now, if it wasn't for the game auto-deploying the construction yard, I'd probably have my units a lot closer to the middle of the section of the map anyways, just because it's a better location all around. There's also not much of a threat to ever losing your power structures, just because you have access to the nuclear plant again. Now, while I might not appreciate the starting location you have with this mission, at least about 4 to 5 at most well-placed battle bunkers is more than enough to ever protect from anything they could send your way. This is also one of those missions that actually gives you a really good chance at upgrading your ore miners. It's very rare to ever have them upgrade just because they typically won't face anything that they can kill easily. But this level is one of those exceptions. The AI tends to throw a lot of initiates at you, as well as just a lot of Yuri clones. Both of which, well, the initiates don't cost all that much, but Yuri clones do, and it adds up after a while. Annoyingly, the AI also has a very high tendency to abandon structures only to re-garrison the next building over, so be mindful of that when you're going around. I had already played this mission like 2 times. I think it crashed on me once, and the second time there was some sort of video glitch, so couldn't use the footage. But basically, yeah, you kind of just want to take it slow, make your way to the middle, and then, well, hopefully not lose all your units. But once you're done, you get to the middle, it ends up being the bottleneck against the AI. I found that having about 3 V3 rockets, as well as a equal, if not slightly larger proportion of Rhino tanks, is about what you'd want to have in order to actually break through into the middle. Yuri also doesn't tend to throw engineers at you ever, so you can kind of get away with capturing the 2 oil derricks and not really having to defend them at all. You more or less have to send them out, your engineers that is, during off cycles, like when they're not sending any waves of units at you. It's a little trickier for the southeast position, but the northwestern one is relatively simple to do.
We are armed.
Now, it does help to have maybe 1 sentry gun or the battle bunker a little bit further left to where I placed it, just so that Yuris don't sneak in. there's a small portion I'm sure they can walk through without being targeted by the battle bunker. And the only reason is because you don't really want a Yuri sneaking in and taking control of an engineer just in time to, you know, capture your nuclear reactor or other important structures.
Unit ready.
Or, well, this new vehicle that we're finally seeing. And keep in mind the voice actor for this, by the way. I don't know his name, but it's gonna be a very memorable one.
Warning, iron curtain activated.
Now, something that I didn't know before playing this level, multiple times anyways, was that the Iron Curtain protects you from being mind controlled, which is very useful.
Let's make a delivery.
Lost.
Let's make a delivery.
Ore miner under attack. Unit lost. Ore miner under attack.
So those are our demolition trucks. It's a rather powerful combination if you ever have them with any superpower, really. Obviously, not counting the nuclear missile or the weather control device, just because those are already destructive. But if you have the Iron Curtain, you can kind of send them wherever, and unless your enemy kind of boxes them in, you don't really have to ever worry about them being stopped. And on top of that, you can just detonate one and live with the consequences. But the chronosphere is also a very dangerous proposition with the demolition trucks, because you can have effectively a time bomb, a ticking time bomb, to attack anywhere on the map instantly with very devastating effects. The only real downside to using a chronosphere on the demolition trucks is that due to their concentrated nature and their explosive power, you never really need more than 2 or 3 to destroy anything. So if you happen to teleport, say, 6 of them, you're typically losing effectiveness out of 3 at least.
V3 launch unit. Ready, position.
All that being said, though, yeah, demolition trucks are pretty abusive, and you kind of want to make sure to maximize their power while you have them.
My truck is loaded. One-way trip. Ready for launch. Warhead prime. Vehicle reporting.
It's also a very good primer for future things that we're going to see. Not only alluded to with the voice actor, but, I mean, we'll see as we get along.
Armed for destruction. Vehicle reporting. Location.
Unit ready.
Now, as mentioned, it's a little annoying to have to kind of dig the tick out of its embedded soil here, just because, well, there's so many initiates, they have longer range than you would expect. There's the defensive structures are more than enough to just be a pain in the ass, and on top of that, they are essentially all guarding a bridge that goes to the enemy base, and they regularly send a ton of initiates and Yuris. And, well, we've seen the devastating effects of Yuri, we don't have Boris with us, and we're missing a few key buildings or units to deal with this. So really my solution for all this is, well, capture the barracks and then just flood the area with Tesla coils. And then use V3 rockets to destroy any buildings in which the initiates are towering in, and that way you don't really have to worry about losing any units through, you know, other means.
Deploy here. Building.
This was a slightly poor decision on my end, just because the Iron Curtain does not last as long as one might imagine. And because of that, they kind of become vulnerable a lot faster than I was hoping. Mix that in with the general, I don't want to say issues, but pathfinding of the various units means that especially vehicles don't necessarily get the best speed boost that they could.
Vehicle reporting. Changing position.
And vehicles aren't necessarily inclined to ever run things over. Like, they will, but they typically will go around a unit.
Spy plane ready.
It just causes some issues with getting your vital demolition trucks to their intended destination.
Unit lost.
Moving. Ready, changing position. Ready for launch. Location confirmed. Ready, comrade. We will bury them. Waiting order. We will bury them. Vehicle reporting. Changing position. Vehicle reporting. Ready for launch.
Building.
This is just one of those sequences where I don't want to risk suddenly having some sort of psychic mind control device take over a bunch of my units, and I have to restart this push 5 minutes later. Realistically, I probably should have had a bunch of Tesla tanks. I think I did that the first time around, and, well... Anyways, lost footage aside, it's not so bad. We also don't necessarily have to worry about Romanov, in the sense that once the defensive structures are depowered, you don't have to worry about anything else. In fact, you could send him to the airport early if you really wanted to, and you can still trigger the end of the mission. Just so long as Romanov gets at the airfield.
Mission accomplished.